Do you know what infinite means? Forever. And today we are talking about infinite threads. This is the first permanent non-surgical facelift system. And at Divine, we feel very proud to have started this exactly 1 year back. And now we feel it is going to totally revolutionize the way non-surgical facelifts work. So let me start by telling you a little bit about what the process is. And why do I call it a system and not a thread? So the infinite system is basically, it comprises of threads which are made of silicon. They're manufactured in Nice in France. And the beauty about these threads is that these threads work in two planes, in two directions. So this is the length of the thread. These are very, very long threads, and it has a central point where the direction changes. The direction here is upwards and direction here is downwards. Why is that? The whole science of this infinite system is that it causes pull of the areas that are mobile. So we know that this area is mobile, this area does not move. So anything that is stuck to something that does not move will stay stuck. So for example, if we tie a dog to a pole, and the pole does not move, the dog cannot move also. It can just go here. And if we pull the leash, the dog will come along with the pole. Now, if the pole is not stable, if the pole moves, the dog will take the pole along with it. So use that analogy here. If this is fixed, we put this thread, and as we pull, the thread gets pulled here and it gets fixed. It cannot move from here. This thread is now anchored or fixed to the top. And that is the beauty of these threads. The inventors, by very intelligently designing the fact that the immobile part of the scalp becomes the focus of the anchor, and changing the direction of the threads, have created this product. And I have done around 46 patients already, and in fact I've also done it for my own mother, and it's been almost a year and she's very happy with it. So the science is anchoring to an immobile spot, two directions of threads. The third science is to understand how aging works. The difference from the other non-surgical threads that were being used, and in fact are being used in India, is understanding of the physiology of aging and where we place the threads. The other threads which are dissolvable, which use PDO and they dissolve in 6 months to 12 months, are basically working on the element of inflammation. The threads are put on the face just deep to the skin is pulled up, and so you look good for a while. There's a lot of inflammation, there's a lot of water formation here, and that gives you a tightness and a bit of a glow. Some threads have hyaluronic acid impregnated, and the hyaluronic acid gets into the skin and makes the skin glow. So it works very well, and as the threads get absorbed over 6 to 8 months, the effect starts to go away. What does this thread do? This is not put in the skin, this is actually put below. So if we see the anatomy of skin, the skin has multiple layers here. So there is skin, there is fat, there is muscle, and between the muscle and the fat there is something called smas. Smas is the most important layer for surgical facelift. Tightening of the smas pulls everything up, the skin moves along with it. I'm repeating this. If we tighten the smas, the skin moves with it. So this whole science has been used by the inventors. The threads are put in the smas, pulling the threads up, and the skin moves along with it. So that is the whole science that they've used, how it differs from the non-surgical threads and why it is more effective. Made of silicon, they do not dissolve, and therefore the threads will stay in the face forever. They just create a small layer around it and do not disturb the functions of the face. Movements are not disturbed. In fact, the best part is they do not even cause any reaction, and therefore 5 years, 10 years later, if you want to do a facelift, so easy to do. Just make the incision according to the facelift, remove the threads if you want to, otherwise you can let it be. In case you need to redo a procedure of threads, say after 5 years or 10 years, or in fact do a facelift, it's very easy because it does not cause any inflammation. Unlike the dissolvable threads, if you do that many times, it just freezes the tissues there, and it is very difficult to do any procedure later on. So be very, very careful about it. Next question which is asked is, how long do these threads really work? Now that's an answer which gets a little difficult to give, because the threads don't dissolve. They stay in the skin forever. However, your aging will happen because your skin is getting damaged, you are getting old. What I tell my patients, if you're younger, the results can last even more than 10 years. If you're around 45 to 50, the results should generally last about 6 to 8 years, as long as you take good care of your skin and your nutrition. If you're around 55, 60, then I don't recommend the threads so much. In case we are doing threads, then expect the result to stay for about 4 to 5 years, which is still a lot, because if you do any other thread, it just does not stay. So the results of permanent threads at all ages are fantastic and way more than any other product. Compared to surgical processes, it is of course much less. So brings us to the question, how do we compare permanent infinite threads with facelift surgery? What is the difference? Or if we have to choose between surgery and permanent threads, how do we choose that? So surgery, of course, is 9 out of 10. Permanent threads, I will say, is about 6.5 out of 10. Surgery will also cater to a lot of the neck, the skin removal, and especially if someone is older, skin removal becomes important. Whereas permanent threads, you can't remove skin. If you combine permanent threads with mini facelift, then of course you can also remove some of the extra skin, and the results will get really amplified a lot. So I feel if there's someone who does not want the cut, does not want stitches, does not want the long swelling, wants quick recovery, then permanent threads. If someone is okay to sit at home for 4 to 6 weeks, wants a very drastic change, then it is surgical facelift. What is the recovery of permanent threads? Very, very important, because you cannot plan a procedure unless you know how much is the downtime, what is the recovery. Now, when we do the threads, most patients will only need to rest for 2 or 3 days, and the reason for that is a bit of swelling which happens on the face. It's generally not very painful at all, maybe for a day, maybe 2 days. Swelling can persist for 4 to 5 days at the maximum. So at least keep 5 to 6 days with yourself. And after that, it is almost as if nothing's been done. It is that beautiful. In fact, my mother, she was having her food half an hour after the procedure. And next day, she was absolutely fine. Almost no swelling at all. So very quick recovery, very effective. And I believe permanent infinite threads are the future of non-surgical facial rejuvenation.